Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending the Everett Redistricting meeting for March 10th, 2022. Tonight, we're doing interviews for our 9th member, and I'm going to go through a quick roll call, and then we'll get started on reviewing the questions real quick, assigning who's going first and last, and we'll get going so we're not on here till 10 p.m. So Leah Atkinson.
Here.
Scott Bader.
Here.
Anna Benitez.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Neely.
Here.
Jared Seitz. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
Sites. And
Sites.
yes, I'm here.
Nathan Shelby.
Here.
And Jocelyn, do you go by Severs Bailey or just Bailey?
Severs Bailey, and I'm present.
And Simone Tarver.
Here.
Thank you, everyone. I assume everyone received the questions and packet for tonight and were able to access the website if you didn't have it. Cool. So our first interview is 5:15, so we have just about 13 minutes before Dale should be on. And I haven't heard from any of our candidates that they won't make it tonight. Everyone confirmed, and so I think we're good to be expecting them. So I think we can just start in the order that I called roll call. So I can go through that one more time real quick. So Leah, you'd ask the first question. Scott Bader would ask the second. Anna would ask the third. Susan would be fourth. Jared would be fifth. Nathan sixth. Jocelyn seventh. And then Simone eighth. I can't not call you Scott Bader, Scott, because we used to have, when Scott was on the council, we had two Scotts. And so I would always use the last names to differentiate. So that's why he gets a last name, I guess, and no one else did there. So we'll go through in that order. So Leah would start with question 1. And then when we got to question 6, when we get to question 6, then Nathan would ask the first Nathan would ask the first question of the second interview. Does that make sense? It's because I didn't want to do 8 questions. I felt like that was too many for 15 minutes. And then when we do follow-up questions, we just need to make sure that they're clarifying questions and not a question that could give somebody like an advantage or more information than someone else. And if we do go down that path, hopefully it's on the first interview so we can repeat it for the rest of them if we do ask an additional question. I guess we should pass the minutes of the previous meeting. So I think until we have a chair and established rules, we'll just go by kind of a rough Robert's rules of order and do a motion in a second and then an all in favor.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
That was a first by Jocelyn. And who seconded that? Nathan.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then is there any objections or edits? No? Great. So all in favor, and you can just visually raise your hand if that's comfortable for all of you. Perfect. And no objections. So great. So that order of business is done. And then I don't have any comments for anyone other than just getting our order of operations set up here. Were there any additions or edits to the questions that I wrote? I did get a response back from most of you that said it was fine, but in case anyone just got an opportunity to look at them, is there anything that you wanted to adjust really quickly? Great. So I think Dale, is that you calling from the 2284 number?
Mary Rollins.
Oh, hi, Mary. How are you?
Mary Rollins.
Thanks for
Good,
joining us.
Thanks. I couldn't figure out a Zoom, and so I called.
Great. We're glad you're here. Mary's a community member. I believe we received a public comment from her last meeting. So I don't have anything to add. I guess we got through that a little quicker than I anticipated. So we still have 10 minutes until Dale will jump on for his interview. I'll send him a quick email and see if he can get on a little earlier. And so in the meantime, you can take a break or we can get to know each other, whatever you guys want.
Nicole, can I ask you, were they all four excited about this opportunity to interview tonight?
Yes, everyone was fairly responsive and enthusiastic.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
I can't hear anything. Is everybody there, or is nobody talking?
Everybody's
no one-
here. We're just breaking until our first interview appears. So
Okay, thank
it will
you.
be, I think,
can't see
about
anything, and I
7 or 8
couldn't hear
minutes. So.
Okay, I'll just hang loose. Thanks.
Great. It looks like Dale has joined us. So if we're ready to kick off, I think we can do so. Wait for people's cameras to turn back on. Hi, Dale. Thanks for joining us and for attending this interview tonight. We'll get started early since you're early. So thank you. Leah, if you want to kick us out. I'm Nicole Weber. I staff the Districting Commission. I work for the city of Everett. I had the opportunity to staff the Districting Commission as well. So it's fun to see this work continue. And I think as we ask questions, we can everyone can introduce themselves. And then at the end, we'll have the few people who didn't get to ask questions on this round introduce themselves as well. So we're all acquainted. So thanks for joining us. And Leah will kick us off.
Hi, Dale. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Leah. And the first question is, can you just introduce yourself and share a bit about your background?
Yeah. Hi, Leah. Nice to meet you, and nice to meet all of you guys as well. So I'm Dale Larson. I'm 30 years old. I live in the View Ridge, Madison neighborhood. Grew up in Everett. 28 of my 30 years have been in Everett. My parents live about 5 minutes west of me. They're also in District 3. And then my sister lives about 5 minutes east of me, and she's in District number 2. What do I'm educated. I went to Seattle Pacific University for business and administration and information systems, involved in a variety of clubs there. Been involved with a variety of nonprofits like Young Life, and I've also done a lot of volunteer work with the University of Washington Medical Center. I own a home, so I have a home in View Ridge, Madison, and then I also am a landlord. I always feel apprehensive to bring that up because people have different feelings on landlords. But I do view myself, and I would confidently say that all of my tenants would say I'm a good landlord. And I've had several tenants even come back to me looking for rentals again. So I do have property also in downtown Everett on Colby. I know I probably don't look it, but my mom is from Central America. She's from Nicaragua. I just have no sun on me right now because we're in our winter. So my mom is from Nicaragua. And then, really the majority of my dad's side of the family, they've all been Washington State. I've had grandparents live in Everett. I've had aunts and uncles and cousins live in Everett. So Everett's really home for me. In addition to that, I also like to show that I'm a well-rounded person, I guess. That's kind of funny to say that. But anyways, I have experience with the Latin community through my mom. Also, my sister, not that this necessarily applies to the commission and the guidelines for districting, but I think it's important to know too that and again, I'm not looking for any sort of pity. My sister leads a wonderful life, but my sister was in a car accident maybe 8 or 9 years ago that left her as a quadriplegic. If you met my sister, you would say she's a paraplegic, but medically speaking, she's a quadriplegic. So I do have a good plug-in with the, we call it SCI, the spinal cord injury, or the I guess, the wheelchair bound community as well. I have a dog, I have a fiance, I got engaged back in December. We're getting married this December. And then for work, besides being a landlord, that's something I kind of do after hours, is I own a tech startup called Modex, and we employ about 10 people here in Washington State.
Nicole, you made a jump in with question number 2. Great. Thanks, Dale. And Scott Bader. I'm going to jump in question number 2 since I didn't hear otherwise. We won't tell your fiance you mentioned the dog first. But question number 2, please share any experience you have working with a large group or board.
Yeah, of course. Prior to working on my startup, I worked for Stevens Pass. If any of you guys are skiers, I promise it was before Vail bought it and all went downhill. But I was the youngest ever senior manager up there. I was IT director up there for about 2.5 or 3 years. We view things in terms of ski seasons. So I was there for 3 ski seasons and a couple of bike park seasons. And so while my team was small, we were all full-time employees. I mean, a lot of times people see ski resorts or ski areas and they say, oh, they just work during the winter. With being senior management and also being in IT, we were year-round employees. So my team, we were small. There were about 3 or 4 of us. But I did work with the larger senior management team, you know, with operations and, I don't know, patrol, food and beverage, all that stuff. And there were probably about 25 of us or so, 20 to 25 of us. And so frequently I would work with them. You know, I would interact with them every day, but then we'd have weekly meetings, senior meetings every Thursday. And so in those scenarios, yeah, we were working as a larger cohesive group to run the resort before they sold it to Vail. I got out of there before we went to Vail. And then, I mean, it really depends on what your definition of a large group or board. I mean, I guess I employ 9 people or so, and so I work with them. So we're also a really small company, so it's not like I don't talk to all my employees every day. I talk to all of them every day, and we all work together to run our business. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hello, my name is Anna. I'm gonna ask you the 3rd question. What qualification or experiences do you feel would be an asset to this commission?
I think I have had a lot of exposure to different people in the world, and obviously with the districting or redistricting commission. Excuse me, it's the end of my day. You know, we're looking at different populations via census data. And so obviously I have exposure to the Latin American community. I have exposure to the disability community. I have people in my family who are Asian. Through landlording, I've had the experience of working with people that are on the lower income level. I've worked with people that are on the higher income level. I've worked with people of different, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know the word, but I'll just throw this out there. You know, straight people and gay people, and I've worked, you know, with different tenants that are of different backgrounds, I guess, different religions. I'm a Christian, but in my houses, I have Christians, Muslims, agnostics, Mormons. So I'm comfortable with the range of people. So I guess I just have a diverse background, a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of people in different situations. Beyond that, at my tech startup, Modex, and I won't go into a lot of detail on it, but we do a lot of things with mortgage data. My family, my dad even today, we're in the mortgage industry. And so growing up, luckily I was able to work in and around his businesses. So one day I said, hey, we should start this tech startup thing called Modex. And so that's what we have now. But anyways, we do a lot of things with geospatial related data and mortgage related data and census data. And so we already do a lot of, I'm not an engineer developer, I have people that do that, but I have a lot of exposure to the mapping of data and the analysis and pattern analysis of data, at least within the geography and mortgage realm and even census data realm. There are even some scenarios where we're looking at, we call them LMI markets, low to moderate income markets. It's a census data, trying to identify which mortgage companies are doing business in LMI markets or outside of LMI markets. So I think, long story short, I have a diverse personal background, but then through my business, I've had a lot of exposure to looking at large amounts of data and also census data.
Hi, Dale. I'm Susan, and I'm asking the 4th question, which is, Are you available to attend meetings on the second Thursday of each month at 5?
Susan, I think you have the easiest question. Yes, I can. I checked my schedule and I'm good to go.
Great. I was afraid you were going to tell me I hadn't unmuted, but
No, you're good.
thanks.
Hi, Dale. This is Jared Seitz from District 5. My question for you is, have you reviewed the city provided materials, including the timeline? Do you have any questions about that?
I have reviewed it. I printed myself out a copy. I don't have any questions. I suppose my one related question is the entire timeline for the redistricting is effectively once the 9th member is chosen, March through November. Is that correct?
Once the 9th member is chosen, you have 90 days to select a districting master, or it's not 90, that's not correct. What did I say there? Now I've forgotten my own rules. You have a very limited amount of time. I think it's 30 days to select a districting master. And then from there, your timeline starts, and everything that's in the charter. So the 7 community meetings, all of those things are things that we have to do before that first meeting in November. And it's a little tricky because we also have to publish in the Herald and things like that. So things have to be edited and finished and published to provide comment, which those kind of like minutia details aren't in that timeline just because they're, in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Great. But yes, I do have the documentation that you guys sent over and I have reviewed it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I think that we can start off with, is there any follow-up questions or clarifying questions from anybody? Because I think number 5 and 6 were asked together. So we can start the next interview with Jocelyn.
Nicole, do you mind if I do have a couple questions. Do you mind?
Sure.
It should be fairly quick. I know you guys have like your next thing, but the idea of a districting master, that was a new concept to me. Is there a bank of available? I mean, I can't imagine it's a very common job. Is there a bank we choose, the commission chooses from, or how are they found?
That is a great question. So the last time we did this, it was just a ton of research and emailing college professors that maybe have done this work. There was a gentleman out of UW that used to do this work that unfortunately has retired, and then one from Western Washington University. But we found a districting commissioner in Virginia who was great, but he was one of like 3 that I was able to find in the nation, and one of 2, I think, that returned our call for a districting commissioner or districting master. So it's actually difficult to find, and there are kind of different levels of experience that each body could request. So our districting commission, the first time we did this, had pretty high expectations of what they wanted, since it wasn't edits to a pre-drawn map, it was creating this map. And so they really wanted someone that brought a lot of professional experience to that, which made the hunt a little more difficult for me in a good way, Simone, challenging in a good way, because we ended up with a great product, but it's a desert out there. It was 2 years ago. So I started doing a little research recently. I didn't come up with anything new, but hopefully I will. And then our previous districting master did offer that to come back and do an interview or provide information for this group to look at and consider him as well.
Okay, cool. And then I don't know, Nicole, you were involved with the districting commission last time, and I don't know who else was involved or was aware of it. I certainly was not involved. Is there a lot of feedback from the community once, at least initially when the districting lines were drawn? Was there lots of feedback from the community on that, or was that kind of a moot, like just deal with it and we don't really care?
No, we had pretty robust community meetings. I mean, there were a lot of them. So
Mhm.
we probably averaged, off the top of my head, like 5 to 14 people per meeting. Some were bare and some were pretty full. And
Sure.
that's pretty good engagement. Most of our 19 neighborhoods only have about, anywhere from 0 to 16 active members. So I mean, depending on how you gauge attending community meetings for people, what that looks like. But all of that is on the website. So if you go back to the history of districting on that left side of the districting website, you can go back and read through all of that if you are interested. And people's names are documented, so you can see if people provided comment twice and all that kind of stuff. We also did receive quite a bit of written feedback from people. So that was good too.
Cool. And then do I have time for one more brief question?
Sure.
I noticed that the original districting timeline was much longer, not well much, but by a couple months longer than the redistricting timeline. Is that on purpose? Is that because the redistricting process should take less than the original complete districting process?
Actually, for the districting process, the original process, I extended the timeline substantially because we had never done this before and I had never managed a project like this before. So I actually convinced our city council and mayor to start this process 4 months early so that we could get our feet under us and ensure that we could make all of those deadlines, review all the data. And at that time, it was pretty old data because the census new data hadn't come out for 8 years. And so I wasn't sure if that was going to be what kind of issue that was going to cause for our members, if we were going to have to do more research, have more meetings, what that was going to look like. So it was a staff call, and then our elected officials fortunately supported that early kickoff for us.
Cool. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there's no clarifying questions for him, I think we're done. You can jump off or stay and listen if you'd like. It is an open meeting. So do whatever you feel comfortable with. And then I think, Angela, I saw you pop on. So if you are ready, then we will kick off with Jocelyn asking first. Oh, we forgot to do the introductions. As we ask questions, we should introduce ourselves, and then at the end, we will have the two people that don't ask questions introduce themselves. So are you ready, Angela?
Can you hear me? All right, I'm here.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, good. So it's after I'm so sorry for being in a different time zone and thinking the meeting was earlier. But so then we were in transit, so now I'm out in the wind right now. So bear with me. But I'm Angela Pioli, and I've lived all my life in Everett, South Everett. And with the exception of a few years and right after I was born back in upstate New York, I've always lived within a mile of where I was born on a farm on Casino Road, and been very involved all of my life with the community and things like that. I've recently retired from the Mukilteo School District. So I'm flexible now and willing to serve and get back into doing things that I used to do.
You want to start with number 2, Jocelyn? Thank you so much, Angela.
Hi, Angela. My name is Jocelyn Severs Bailey, and I would like to know, question number 2 is, please share any experience you have working with a large group or board.
Yes. So in my 20s, probably my late 20s, I served on the City of Everett Community and Housing Block Grant Committee. And I believe that term was a 2-year term that I did that. So it was kind of like what this is you have your grants for the year, you have a timeline, you look at the grants, you study them, all the input, and then you open it, you meet monthly and have community input, and then it gets down to the decision time after all the members of the community and affected people have their say. You reconsider anything that you should because of that input, and then you turn it over to the city council for their approval. So I did that for 2 years, and that was a long time ago. And then since then, I've done a lot of work with trade associations, with large groups, and then also I'm an avid race car person. So I worked at the racetrack up there. I recently just got involved again with racing, but took a 20-year vacation from it. But I was the rookie coordinator up there. So you've got a lot of people, large groups of people, and also technical inspection. So you've got a lot of people with a lot of attitudes and a lot of needs and wants. So I did that. My recent job with the Mukilteo School District was in special education administration. So there we kind of had to look at the forecast of populations in certain areas every year and see where our students were going to be placed. And so we were always having to look at the trends of where housing was going to be, where the growth and was going to be. So that was something for 26 years we had to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Simone, you're next.
Hi, Angela. My name is Simone Tarver. I'll be asking the third question. So what qualifications or experiences do you feel would be an asset to this commission?
Well, I'm used to working around large groups of people. And I think that somebody that can see everybody's view when you're having your community input, somebody that's not just going to have your own ideas, and is good at seeing other people's ideas and not squashing them or just looking past what other people have to say and thinking only of what they think. I think that's one of my strong assets. I do well around other people, and I understand being in Everett from before Boeing boom and everything. I understand the growth in the different areas. I mean, the growth originally started where I lived, Casino Road. It was all farmland at that time, and so that's where the growth went. But the growth has moved to so many different areas in the city now. And I think having a good understanding of seeing all that different growth all over the place is beneficial too.
Thank you. And we're back to Leah.
Next question is, are you available to attend meetings on the second Thursday of each month at 5 p.m.?
Yes, I already looked at my calendar and I am available. So yes, and I'm flexible for any, if there's other things that come up where you've got to have other meetings or open up different dates and times for community meetings, I'm available too. Very, very flexible.
Oh, you're muted. Well, you're not muted, Scott, but your headphones are not connected. Nothing. Silence.
Oh, let's see. Are you not hearing me?
Oh, we hear you. We're just one of our. Nope. All right. Will Nathan, I think you got skipped.
Okay. Thanks, Angela. Nathan Shelby here. Have you reviewed all of the materials that were provided to you and you're good with the timeline? Do you have any questions about the timeline or any of the materials that were provided to you?
No, the materials were easy to understand and the timeline was very interesting. I appreciated seeing that. It's well thought out, I think, and doable. Somebody did a good job with that timeline.
And then I think we'll hop to Anna and then just keep going down the order from there. Sorry, Nathan, I didn't mean to skip you.
It is okay.
I am Anna. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I was thinking when listening right to the interview before this, and I guess he touched on it a bit, but I didn't have a pen to write it down because I wasn't expecting to do this. So I'm so sorry. But I am very interested in doing this because of the population growth in the different areas. And want to see, for myself, I want to feel that it's done to the best ability of what it can be done. And that's my interest in doing this because of the growth in the different areas. And when would be the next time that the redistricting would be done?
It's every 10 years in accordance with the census data.
Okay, great. Yeah, because 10 years is a long time, especially for Everett. You could have growth growing and going in a whole nother direction in 10 years. So
just a little over 2 election cycles for city council members and mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you don't have any questions, then I think you're free to get back to whatever you were doing. Thank you for making time. Really appreciate it. And you'll hear from me at the latest date. The decision will be made. Will be the 24th. So you'll hear from me either that next week or sooner.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize again for getting the time mixed up. That's so funny. It was at least give me a good chuckle. All right, good evening. Bye.
She had forgot about the time difference of where she's at. So she jumped on an hour ago and then sent me an email and I was like, no, we have the time wrong. So that's why she was in not the best situation as far as the win because she forgot about the time difference. So, and I don't. Kelly Fox will be next, and I don't think she's on yet. Scott, did you want to try your, you're still silent. I wish I would have taken like a lip reading course.
Yeah.
It really paid off during COVID. I could have.
Now you were on.
Better?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hear you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Great. Anna, you have a small commissioner behind you. Always happy to have one more.
Yeah,
Hey.
he has a lot of personality, so.
Yeah, good. We need it. Bring
Yeah.
some life. Oh. So I'm going to drop Kelly a quick email and see if she would be able to join early if she's available. And I will update you all in just a minute or two.
This is a community member, Mary Rollins. During the break, I have a question. If this member was going to be chosen by the 24th, do they know the 25th is a meeting, special meeting, or is that not needed?
The 24th is the special meeting where if the commission does not decide today who they pick, it's on the calendar so that we have a meeting scheduled to debrief this interview cycle. So they would know by the week of the 28th, I would communicate with the applicants.
Okay. Okay, great. I wasn't sure what the 25th special meeting was about. So maybe it was in writing. I just didn't read far enough. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I do have the answer to your question about precincts from last time, Scott, if you're around, or I can address it later, but I figured since we have a few minutes, I should comb through my notes and see if there's anything that we could cover in the meantime. Just the question about precincts. I'll just wait a minute and see if you're around and just listening, you could put in the chat. If you don't feel like turning on your camera right now. You can hear me okay, Scott? So how I understood your question was if potentially the change of precincts at the county could impact how our map rolls out. And essentially what it could do is adjust our lines because we're not supposed to split precincts. So whoever the master is will just have to adjust those lines. So it could be if the precinct shifted a bit, then even if hypothetically the commission didn't want to do a lot of changes to the map, it would be a forced adjustment in order to accommodate that increase of population, unless it were a very, very small amount of people. But it made me think about the riverfront area and if that was going to change, and if so, how much. So I think that's a good question. Does that answer? Great. If there's any more questions that you have that I could take note of and get back to you on as well, feel free to ask them now and I can type them up or throw them in the chat and I can copy and paste them.
I have a question. How do I join the Zoom meeting without being on the phone?
You should be able to join through your browser from clicking on the link on the website. It should take you to
There wasn't a link. There was it said link here, and then it opened up an email with some dates on it. But they did not access a Zoom link.
Well, that is a mess.
Do you have Zoom downloaded onto your phone?
I'm on Zoom every day of the week.
Okay.
I know how to use Zoom on my phone.
Link is corrupt. So I will I'm gonna email it to you right now. I have your email address. So I'll just drop it in a quick email and then I'll fix that on the website. Yeah, what a weird,
Great.
What an odd place to go when you click on a link. I'm so sorry about that. Just 1 second.
That's okay.
You should have that in your inbox in just a moment or two.
Great. Thank you. Not sure if you can still hear me, but thank you.
And Kelly was it 550 or 555? I think it was 550.
550 it says.
Yes, and I just sent her an email. I did not get a reply, so I'm going to try to give her a quick call and see if she's able to join us. So just one moment.
Hi, Mary. I see your note in the chat. It's nice to have you on the Zoom call. Thanks for being here.
She's joining us right now, so we'll get ready. So I think when she hops on, we'll start with Susan, and then Susan, Jared, Nathan, Jocelyn, Simone, Leah, Scott, Anna. So it's still in the chat up towards the top.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, we have one interview that is going to happen as soon as she hops on here and just, whoa, is that Kelly? Are you here?
I'm here.
Great.
Hey.
So I'm Nicole. I staff the Districting Commission, and we're going to jump right into it. So Susan, if you're ready, kick us off.
I am. Hi. The first question, I'm Susan. The first question is if you could please introduce yourself and then just share a bit of your background with us.
Okay. My name is Kelly Fox. I've been living in Everett for a little over 3 years now, and in Snohomish County for longer. I've lived in the Puget Sound area actually for, I don't know, 30 years maybe at this point. I currently work for Snohomish County EMS, which is a nonprofit that does certifications for EMS and paramedics. And I ran for city council for my district 5. I didn't actually make it, but I am still interested in supporting our city and being and participating. And one of the things that came up was something like this to try to get involved and do what I can. So that's what brought me here.
So Jared, you're next.
Okay. Hi, Jared Seitz, also District 5. And sorry, I lost the question. Can you please share any experience you have working with a large group or board?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a lot of experience actually. So my current job is at a nonprofit. I've been there for 4 years and I'm the executive director. So I've got a board of directors. I also help support the Snohomish County Fire Chiefs Association, which has a board of directors. So I have that experience there. Prior to that, I did work for a nonprofit childcare center with a board of directors. And at the current place I work, Snohomish County EMS, I actually have 1,700 providers who need to be certified. So I could be called by any of them, as well as there are 30 different agencies and anybody who works there. So I do work with a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, and have done so for quite a while now. I like working with people and developing relationships.
Hi there, I am Jocelyn, and I would like to know what qualifications or experiences do you feel would be an asset to this commission?
Okay, well, I have worked for city government for quite a while, actually, and in fire departments. So I have some understanding of how cities are created, zoned, districts, all that kind of stuff. Not as much about Everett, I have to be honest, which I look forward to learning about. But I have a lot of experience in those different areas. I used to work for the city of Renton, and I worked for the city of Seattle. And helped with the fire department management for those agencies and utilities at the city of Seattle. And all of those things, I think, give me an interesting perspective on what work we would be doing together.
Cool.
Thanks so much for that. Wanted to make sure that you're available to attend meetings the second Tuesday of every month at 5 p.m. and you don't have any issues with that particular schedule.
Yes, my apologies for any unavailability I've had recently. My lovely mother is moving in with me. She's been in the hospital, and we weren't able to find another place. So she's moving in, and I've just been kind of dealing with that. But we're at a place now where it's understood, and actually she's right here. Hi, Mom. So she and I are working out a plan, and I'm sure that I would be available, and I would love to make the time for these meetings.
Hi, my name is Simone Tarver, so I'll be asking the 5th question. Have you reviewed the provided materials, including the timeline?
I have had a brief look at I could have done a better job, I have to be honest. But I did look at the timeline. I'm excited to get working together. I think that I could be committed and do the work that's needed. And hi, Simone. I feel like I've met you before.
I think so.
Another committee. You're a salary commissioner, and I am too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. And our final question, my name is Leah, and our final question for you is, what questions do you have for us?
I guess I want to know how you guys are going to decide this, like what is leading you to make this decision? How do you decide between the candidates?
So that's a really good question. The only real written rule that everyone has to follow, including the council when they made these appointments, is geographic diversity and representation of the city. And so essentially what happened during the districting commission last time is they kind of broke through who they thought brought in a different piece of the city and who brought a skill or asset that didn't currently kind of exist on the commission with the first appointed 8. And I think that's a reasonable way to go. So I imagine that's similar to how this conversation will go as well. But this board is a little different because I get to staff you. I don't get to lead you because the commission is an independent kind of body. So they have more power and control than a lot of our other boards and commissions.
Great. Thank you again for all of your support.
Thank you so much. If that's it, then I think we're good, and you'll hear from me either after the 24th, so that following week, or before. So if you don't hear from me by the end of the month, then I've won the lottery and moved somewhere else.
Well, then congratulations. If
Not
I
that
don't
I
hear
would
from
leave
you.
Everett, but I'm probably vacationing at that point if you don't hear from me. So.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great. So we have Paola, is that right? So if you want to do a quick sound check, I know I can see your video works great.
Is that working now?
Yep. And Scott, you can start with the first question if you're ready. Thank you.
And assuming my microphone works. Good. Okay. Thanks, Paola. Welcome. And please introduce yourself and share a bit of your background.
Sure. So my name is Paola Herrera, and I've lived in Everett for about 10 years now. I've been working as a remote employee throughout that whole time. So when COVID hit, I pretty much was already kind of set for that. I have experience in project management and also in IT. So I thought this was kind of an interesting endeavor, so to speak. So I was curious to see what I could kind of do if my skills could be used.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I have the next question for you. Please share any experience you have working with a large group or board.
Sure. So I've worked in a number of projects. They were government projects. We worked in proposals. So we our team was basically, we were assigned to provide cost estimating and review data that was considered legacy data. So it's really old data. And we were trying to kind of work with that data and bring kind of work with that and also mesh it with new data. So it was something, it was mainly with the Department of Energy. So it's a little different from working with the city, but that was something that we did in the past. I was mainly assigned to do data analysis with that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan, and the third question is, what qualifications or experiences do you feel would be an asset to this commission?
Yeah, so my understanding is that we're to look at if there's any necessary changes to the district, and we're supposed to evaluate the data if anything significant pops up. So it's something that I think I was curious to see if I could use my skills for.
Hi, I'm Jared, and my question for you is, are you able to attend all the meetings?
Yes, I should be able to do that.
Okay.
Hi, Paola. I am Jocelyn, and we just want to make sure that you were able to review and look through all of the timeline materials that were sent to you, and wondered if you had any questions.
I don't at the moment. I did look at it. I think as things move along, if I am selected, then I would probably end up having a lot more questions along the way.
So if there are there any clarifying questions from anyone? If not, thank you so much for being early, and thanks for making the time for us this evening. And you'll hear from me either shortly after the 24th. The 24th is a Thursday, so it'll be that following Monday, or before, depending on how quickly the commission makes their decision.
Sure, sounds great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Great. So we do have, if everyone has time, we could walk through debriefing the interviews and making a selection, or we can wait until the 24th. That is up to the group. So if anyone has a strong opinion, please feel free to share now. Jocelyn, I see you're unmuted.
I think that for me, I love making these decisions right while the interviews are fresh in my brain and we have time. So if people do have a little bit of time to do some debriefing, I would love to do that nomination this evening.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have my memories fresh right now with all the information. For sure I will forget some details.
Nicole, just a quick question. Did we, or do we have any concerns about like advertising the meeting? Do we need to advertise? We were going to make a selection tonight, or did we imply that? I think it's good we talked through it, but I'm just concerned. Is there any concern about public meeting aspect of that?
I don't think so. And let me tell you why I think that's a great question. So I publicized the meeting on the 24th, or published the meeting on the 24th as a special meeting where we were going to make a decision. But because this is a regular meeting and has been published as so, I believe that you are allowed to take actions on items not on the agenda as like city council would be able to. So as long as it's not a special meeting, unless the group feels like we could debrief it, and then if you want to make the announcement at the meeting of the 24th, because that's how it's publicized, we could do that as well. Or I could just update the website to explain what had happened kind of at the top for a short amount of time. So if people are curious, they can go look and see and watch the interviews and the discussion following.
Would this eliminate the need for a meeting on the 24th if we decided tonight?
I believe so, unless there were topics that, and it would give me a little bit more time to research this. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would just say I was really impressed with all four of them. It sounds like Kelly might already be on some kind of board or commission, but if for the ones that aren't chosen, if they're not on the city board or commission already, Nicole, I think you should reach out to them and grab them for something. So just good, really impressed with all of them.
I'm going to take no objections as you guys are ready to debrief this and potentially make a decision tonight. And if you do make a decision, I'll put it on the website, make it flashy and red, and then eliminate the meeting on the 24th. Scotty, I believe that you are a lawyer by trade. So if what I said sounded crazy, I'll leave that to you. I feel confident. I feel very, very confident.
Sounds good. Sorry, I jumped the gun with my comments there. So anyway.
That's okay. I did provide a map. So do we want to start maybe with geographic conversation and then maybe whittle it down that way and then talk about what the candidates brought to the table? Would that be an easy way to start this for all of you? Or do you just kind of want to go through? Okay, Nathan is unmuted.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we could just go through and I could just call on people and you can all just kind of debrief it that way so you don't feel like you have to jump in. I know it's awkward to talk about people when you're being recorded as well. So I do acknowledge this isn't probably the easiest thing for all of you.
I think if the proposal to work through it geographically works for me. I can't speak to anybody else, but I think that's fine by me.
Okay, if there's no objections, I'll pull up that map, or you guys can pull up the map on your screen and then I'll share my screen so those watching this recording later can also see what we're looking at. All right, can everyone see the map? Is it big enough? Should I zoom in?
I think it's big enough. We can see the whole city, so that's good.
Okay. So you had originally discussed eliminating kind of the top half of the map, which is the first and second district, and focusing on the third, fourth, and fifth to try to even out representation for those districts. And so the green dots represent, or the purple dots represent your current approximate home addresses, and then the green dots represent the people that we interviewed today. And I sent you all a little note in that email so you can kind of differentiate who is where. So I can, if you want to look at that, I just didn't want to, I guess I could have just put it on the side like I did those other ones, but I got nervous about putting names and addresses up for some reason the other day. So. Do you see my email right now or do you see the map still?
Map.
Okay, great. Always share the window, never share a screen. So down in the 5th district, that green dot in the 5th would be Kelly Fox. The green dot in the lower part of the 4th would be Angela. And then the green dot kind of right on top of that other purple one in the 3rd is Paola. And then this final green dot right here in the 3rd would be Dale.
Thanks for mapping this, Nicole.
Of course, I'm glad I got the suggestion to do so. So I think kind of based on geographic diversity, Paola and who's the commissioner that would be underneath that? Who's that purple dot? Can't remember who. So Nathan, kind of seems like you two represent a similar area of the city. So I think she did a wonderful job, but if geographic diversity is our goal, then her address might rule her out. And then moving down into the 3rd, we have Angela, and then in the 4th, or moving down into the, oh, sorry. Yeah, this is Paola is this green one here. Then our other 3rd is Angela. Then the 4th, or our other 3rd is Dale. The 4th is Angela, and the 5th is Kelly. If you notice, I didn't put those in order by district on that email, which is why now I'm confusing myself. So kind of leaves one candidate for each district, unless someone feels strongly otherwise. Please speak up. You're kind of a quiet group, so I'm trying to give you yes and no questions.
I would concur that I think that geographically Paola is too close to, did you say it was Nathan?
Yeah, I'm with
and
you.
it just
That's
isn't a
right around the
fair
corner.
representation when we've got Dale way over, on the other side. So I would concur that just because where Paola lives, unfortunately, that probably wouldn't be a good representation for this district.
I agree.
I agree also.
Yeah.
And I think looking at the other two, thinking about where a lot of our growth is happening, I'd say a lot of it is happening in 4 and 5. So that would be something else to consider. I think it's always good to have a little bit more representation from the Casino Road area, which Angela would be a representative of, since it's an area that historically we have not always had at the table when making decisions like this. But then thinking about all the growth that's happening around in District 5, that's another big consideration. One thing that really stood out to me among the 4 candidates that we heard from tonight was Angela's mentions of really that experience with how our city has grown and changed over years. As we take a look at the data that we'll have from the 2020 census, the data can tell part of the story, but part of that's really going to have to come from our own experiences and the experiences that people share with us from living in the city. Because when you're thinking about, should this precinct be part of 2 or 3, you have to think about what community is in that area. How do we keep like communities together? And so I really appreciated that she mentioned that she brought that experience, because that will prove to be very valuable as we make different decisions throughout this process.
I agree with Simone, and I will just add that having someone in either 4 or 5 will have more representation in the South. So it will even out probably with the representation we are having now in the North. So I will just stick with 4 and 5.
I want to speak.
I concur. Sorry, Scott. I've heard a lot of feedback listening to council over the years about, the split between North Everett, north of 41st, and everybody else south of 41st. And I think the more representation we could get from a more diverse group of people, the better off we are. I love the fact that Angela is a lifelong resident and is so invested in the community. So I think, her at Kelly too. I would swing towards Angela. That would be my vote when we get there, but I don't know that we're there yet. So more discussion.
I was going to speak up for Dale. I thought he was very well spoken, and I think his youth and relatively youth, at least compared to some of us, and the business background, which I don't think we have too much of on our group here. And I really was hoping we'd get someone in kind of the Pinehurst Evergreen area, because that always seems to me the big hole. Dale's close there and on Westview, or View Drive, West Drive, or whatever it is. But so was kind of looking to hope we could have filled that hole. But being close, and I think the other attributes he brings kind of felt. Anyhow, I felt he was one that I would support. Thanks.
If we're going to just do just a quick recap, I personally would be happy with either Dale or Angela, and for what they both bring. I think Kelly would do a great job. I just don't know if it's a great time for her, just with life. So I'm just going to leave it there. I think they'd all be great. I just don't know if it's the right time for her at the moment. And I get it. Sometimes it's just not the right time.
Leah, Jared, Susan, do you guys have anything you'd like to add?
I do. I'm kind of collecting my thoughts after a few of the comments shared by other members of the commission. I think in spending time with, I've spent time since our last meeting with a couple of different things, definitely looking back over work that was previously done. And then also we already have a comment letter that's been submitted by a group. I did take a look at the Everett Districts Now website and some of the materials that were there. And one thing that I've heard echoed consistently, not just with different groups around the community or with the previous commission, is the lack of representation from the lower districts. It's what started some of these conversations in the first place. So I think I would want to say that I'm in favor of someone from 4 and 5. One thing about Kelly that I see as I'm looking at the map is Kelly represents the other side of I-5, which is important to consider. But after hearing everybody, and I'm glad we're doing this today so that I have my notes fresh and my dog didn't take my notes, or one of my children. I've been in business and I've been a manager for over 20 years now. When I hire and I think about this, approaching it from an interview perspective, I always think about the team that's already in place and what we lack. And what interested me most about Angela as a candidate is I think that Angela would be able to help us engage more with the community, just given the longevity that Angela has been a resident. And also Angela spoke very specifically about different groups that she's already been a part of that she could potentially engage with, to bring more voices to the table, which is something that I know when I was speaking to my council member, that's one thing that was important to me, is that we get as many voices at this table as possible. And I felt like Angela was just much more specific in saying how she would want to go about that work on the commission. So those are my thoughts.
And just adding to what Leah said, I'm adding thoughts to everyone. I think she said like really nice. I would just add that Stacey has a lot of exposure to different population. So that's really good for us because we need someone that brings inclusion and equity to this, to the team, and diversity as well.
I guess something I'd like to add is that I live on this side of the freeway in District 5, and then Kelly lives on the other side in Silver Lake, and it's very, very different, even though we're not too far geographically. It's quite a different area over there. And I think just that I-5 corridor is kind of underrepresented in general, but it's really hard to choose.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Kelly or Angela, definitely 4 or 5. And the points everybody's making, I think, well, okay, I'm here, and then somebody makes a really good point there. I really could go either way with either one of them.
Nicole, can we do like a feel vote to see about just narrowing it down to 4 and 5? So it seems like that's the direction we're moving in.
Sure, that's a great idea. Thanks for giving me a little time in between all of your comments so I could type some of those out. So with that being said, it sounds like the majority of you, like Simone said, are leaning towards 3 and 5, which would eliminate Dale. And so I think at this point, if you're comfortable with that, eliminating Dale for geographic diversity, you can raise your hand, and then we can open it up for anyone to make an argument against, and then call for a vote, and that would reduce us down to Kelly or Angela. Does that sound okay for everyone? So if you're okay with for geographic diversity and not because of any other reason, eliminating Dale from the process, go ahead and show your hand on the screen. And then Scott, if you'd like to speak to why before we call for a vote, that would be great. I didn't see your hand. Oh, you did have it on your face, but
Thanks. Yeah, I don't, again, I think that, of course, for me, it's always been the whole districts thing is fraught with elevating geographic diversity above everything else. But, you know, I think, you know, I've known the Pioli family for much of my life. But I think, you know, with Dale, we get the chance, especially for a new voice, or, you know, here in Everett, is I think both Angela and Kelly talked about that they've, you know, long been involved here. And I just hate to see us miss an opportunity for a new voice here in this process versus people who have been, you know, long part of Everett, or in Kelly's case, I guess, in you know, kind of into the fire district, I think she said. So, yeah, I guess in kind of in the structure already. Thanks.
And then Nicole, to clarify, I wanted to make sure that we would be then eliminating both of our potential candidates from 3, so we could just focus on 4 and 5.
Yeah, so I think that that's probably correct. We should probably do like an official vote to eliminate both 3 candidates. And I'm going to do them separately because I think that one we have, everyone agrees, and I think the second one, not everyone agrees. So I'd like to document those votes individually. And so let me just get to my roll call list. So we'll start with eliminating Paola from the process due to geographic diversity and another commissioner living so closely. And so I'll just call your name and you can either say yes or no. And then if we have a majority, we'll move on to our second 3rd district candidate, which would be Dale. And I'll read through again and you can say yes or no. So we'll start with Leah.
Just to clarification, it's yes to eliminate. That's what I'm voting for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Scott Bader, just for Paola right now.
No.
Anna.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Nathan.
Yes.
Jocelyn.
Yes.
Simone.
Yes.
And then this next vote will be for Dale, also representing District 3. So yes to eliminate and no to keep. So
One quick question. Did you
yeah.
ask Nathan? Did we get him? Oh, okay. I was like, I couldn't tell if we missed him.
Just want to make sure. Good. I'm glad because I did skip on the questions. So I appreciate everyone holding me accountable to making sure everyone's participating. And I'm actually going to go in reverse order this time. So Leah doesn't always have to start. Simone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jocelyn.
Yes.
Nathan.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Scott.
No.
And Leah.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to a majority, which leaves us with 2 candidates on the table, which would be Angela and Kelly. So motion passes. I guess both are eliminated is what I should say. So I'll just open the floor and I'll keep typing notes until you guys seem to be coming to a consensus. Leah?
Yeah, so I feel like if we were in person, I know how I would engage. And so I'm trying to be a bit more open. You kind of called us a quiet group, and I actually don't get that impression from us.
I guess considerate of others to speak first is what I should.
Yeah. And we're getting to know each other. If I was engaging in person, Scott, thank you for those comments. And thank you for I think just the perspective that you bring to the table and what you were saying about the candidates that we did have come forward for District 3. And what I heard you say is a fresh perspective. And I think that there are several of us already on the commission that I do believe we are a fresh perspective. We've never engaged in this. We haven't been a part of it. We haven't served on councils or commissions or any of those things. That being said, I think that as we move forward and we do get to the point where we're trying to engage with different voices, fresh perspectives, younger populations, we really as a commission have to think about how we're going to go about that. It's a noisy information environment. That's my background, is information science from a data perspective. It's a noisy environment and we have to consider how we're going to engage with people and get them to come to the table. So I do appreciate your comments, Scott, and I think it's something that we do need to keep in mind as we move forward. And I'm not that old. So.
I think looking at the two we've narrowed it down to, I think both did a great job. Both bring something unique to the table, but I'm still really leaning toward Angela. I just think that the area that she's in is an area that we just never get enough representation from. And I think probably really the big thing that stands out to me, just because they both do represent areas that do have a lot of important growth happening, is I feel like Angela came across as that she was really passionate and that she was really interested in this, and that was really the only key difference between them, really, for me. That was the key. Kelly did seem definitely interested, but just something about the way that Angela was communicating with us and the way she was sharing about her past and her interest in the commission, just it really came across to me that she was really passionate and excited and ready to serve. So that I'm leaning toward Angela.
Of the two remaining, I would echo those sentiments. So thanks for those comments, articulated to me, at least what I was feeling well.
I agree with what Simone said. I think the only hesitation I have is how important is it to have somebody from the other side of I-5? Just asking. And if somebody can articulate that, I would really appreciate it.
I think the one thing I could say about that is thinking about the demographics of the Casino Road area versus the demographics of the Silver Lake area. I think that it would be a heavier lift to do more outreach in the Casino Road area without having folks that are familiar with that neighborhood and with those communities, rather than doing similar outreach in the Silver Lake area. I just think thinking about the demographics out there, I think it might be something that's doable for us to just ensure that we're making a pointed effort to get feedback and, really connect with folks out there. Because I know eventually we'll be doing a meeting in each district. So, as we're gathering feedback and as we're gearing up toward those meetings, it's if we don't choose Kelly and we don't have a representative from that side, it could be something that we would just want to be particularly aware of, similar to the other area in 3 that Scott mentioned, thinking about, though there might not be a representative from that exact neighborhood, how do we still engage members of that community and, ensure that their perspectives are being considered.
Thanks.
Nicole, what's the process to move forward? Do we need a motion for the 9th member? Is that how you'd like to do this, as we don't have a chair
Yes.
as of yet?
So we would need a motion and a second to either, whether you want to do it to nominate somebody or shorten the list. I think probably since there's only 2 left, the good thing to do would be to nominate. And then we would need a second, and then the floor would open for discussion for people who probably disagreed with that nomination or wanted to go a different way. And then we would take a vote.
Okay.
So I will just leave the floor open until someone's ready to make that nomination.
I would like to nominate Angela Pioli as the 9th member of the commission.
Second.
I agree.
Who was that second?
That was me, Nicole. Leah.
Great. So we have a first, or a motion by Nathan, a second by Leah, and then now we'll open the floor if there's anyone who doesn't think that that is going to work. And seeing nobody get off of mute, I will call down the list. And are you trying to unmute, Scott? Okay, good. And so I'll call down the list, and if you are in favor of the motion and comfortable with moving forward with Angela as the 9th member, then you'd say yes. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you would say no, and the majority will pass the vote. So I am going to go start with Nathan and go that way. So Nathan.
Yes.
I need to stay unmuted. Jocelyn.
Yes.
Simone.
Yes.
Leah.
Yes.
Scott Bader.
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
And Jared.
Yes.
Great. So we have our 9th member. So that's wonderful. I can let everybody know tomorrow. And I'll also add some of your comments about how wonderful all of the interviews were, and thank everyone for their time, of course. And I'll BCC you all on those, just so you see that communication going out. And for the 24th, I'll cancel that meeting. And then I'll post online that the selection was made, and I'll update all of the materials to reflect that 9th member should they accept the nomination, which hopefully they are able to, because I felt like I tailored those questions to make sure that people were committed. So we didn't have to go through this more than once. And then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Sorry about that. Stop. And then I will put together an agenda in minutes and send all that out to you before our next meeting, which would be April 14th at 5 o'clock. And if there's any questions or comments or anything that you want to email me in the meantime, what I can do is add those to the agenda, even with the answer, so that other commissioners can get those answers as well. I always think that that's helpful to see what other questions come up, but since you can't really communicate as a body outside of the meetings on districting topics, then that's a great way to share things. And so at our next meeting, we'll need to nominate and select a chair, and then also cover whatever I find for a districting master as well, so we can get started on that process. It is 90 days. I stumbled over that earlier, but it is 90 days from the time that you select your 9th member. However, if we waited that long, we'd be up against a very aggressive timeline for someone to come back with information that'd be helpful for you to make these decisions. So great. Thank you everyone for your time. If there's no, anyone has any comments or anything like that, please feel free to share now.
Actually had a question regarding funding. Leah hit on, making sure that we actually did outreach, and when we do our outreach for community discussions, what does our funding look like for that notification to the community? I noticed that based in charter, we have funding for like our, special master, perhaps, a demographer or something similar to that, but not necessarily for an ad buy, for lack of a better word, for, like, hey, you need to show up because, being a citizen is important. Come, participate in your community.
So we do have a budget for that. Try to be conservative with it, and it's not. I don't have a specific number for you, but what I can do is pull the budget from the last time we did this together and show you what we kind of had budgeted to spend for that, and then bring that back at the next meeting. Our last round, we have to publish. Well, we don't have to. We do publish in the Herald because that's one of the only places that's kind of left to publish. And we did a lot of, Facebook advertising is fairly inexpensive. So, for like $300, you can do a lot of advertising on social media. And then we have also utilized, our neighborhood contact list. We have 19 active neighborhoods in the city of Everett. So they all get the notifications about redistricting and the community meetings and stuff like that. And they share to their networks. And then we have our boards and commissioners that will also get notifications of public meetings like this as well. And there's quite a few boarding commissioners. I think there's like close to 300. Scott, is that correct? Do you know? Yeah, close to 300. So that's usually how we do our outreach. And then we reach out to specific groups, the NAACP, the Casino Mom group, casino stakeholders, and then other community partners that we might have that can share the news as well. So mostly we do electronic notifications, but if you have another idea or suggestion outside of the Herald, we can look at that as well and add it to our communications plan for advertising community meetings. And our city council president will also add them to her script at meetings as well. So it'll go out that way for those who watch our city council meetings.
And last year we had some printed flyers too. And I think we had at least a couple of things that we were able to provide out to communities in language. So we did have some translated materials too. So that's something we can be sure we do again.
And those are on the website too. And you could print them. We would print them for commissioners. Some grabbed them, some didn't. And then we had Spanish and English, and I think 3 other languages for the flyers as well. And then if you wanted, and if you wrote me in advance, we could have a translator at the meeting to translate your comments as well. And then, of course, always accepting written comment from the community too. And we could have that translated as well. So I'll come back with a budget. Long story short, I'll bring you a budget, sample budget.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I knew that the city had done some Facebook advertising in the past. I guess my question next would be, is it limited specifically to Facebook? Is it, do you also do Instagram and TikTok, which tend to skew significantly younger than Facebook? Not, I'm showing my age here. I'm a Facebook member. I don't belong to Instagram and TikTok, but, I know people who do, and they're, not of my seniority yet in life.
We don't do TikTok. We do post on Twitter. I don't think we don't do advertising on Twitter that I'm aware of, and we can do Instagram ads. So, but I think if you wanted to do a TikTok advertisement, you'd have to be active on TikTok, and no one that has a city account is a active TikTok user for. We could start one. It'd be a districting commission TikTok page. That'd be fun. Could lip sync like the Brady Bunch every time.
I think what I'm hearing is that Nathan wants to dance on TikTok to get people to come to our meeting. So
that's what I heard too.
Written down, and we keep that in mind moving forward, that we have budget for that. The dance lessons, whatever we need.
As long as it's like classical ballroom, I'm fine with it. There we go. I'm not doing the floss, but I'll do a waltz. That's fine.
Fun.
Very classy. Love it.
Any other questions or comments before we close out this evening? All right, I'll get everything updated, put the materials together, and I'll add a budget to those materials for next time. So thank you so much. I appreciate how great you guys are at making decisions and moving us along in the process. That makes me sleep better at night. So have a wonderful evening, have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks everybody for your
See you
time.
later. Bye.
Hey, everybody.